Ah, prison. What's not to love? 3 square meals of the finest cheap nutrition paste, toilets with a view, showers, complete with soap, hand sanitizer making.
Floral bouquet, hydrangea, tulips. What does it smell like to you?
Get your hand out of my face.
Tulips, yes.
Shankings, mostly clean jumpsuit? Yeah, no, prison kinda sucks. Unless you have a long-term bondage fetish and you want the government to be involved somehow, prison is a place that is just asking to be broken out of. Which is why history is full of prison escapes. One of the more well-known, in no small part to how ingeniously absurd it was the escape of Frank Lee Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin in 1962. The 3 men plus one Allen West knew each other from previous incarcerations in Florida and Georgia and found themselves, unrelatedly, in the same prison once again. Only this time, it was in Alcatraz. The first to enter was Allen West in 1957 for an attempted prison break in Florida, followed by Frank Morris in January of 1960, who had successfully escaped from a Louisiana penitentiary, only to be captured a year later when committing a burglary and sent to the Traz. Then finally, it was the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence, who attempted to escape multiple times from a facility in Atlanta. Eventually, Atlanta had enough of their shenanigans and shipped them off to Alcatraz in October of 1960. For some reason, they were all placed in adjacent cells. Now that all of the players are in place, it's time to break out. Given that Frank Morris was the only one of the foursome to actually escape, he was the leader of the group and the one who came up with the plan. Gather up any saw blades, random spoons, and any other objects of interest. Anything that could cut or dig or be used to widen the ventilation ducts beneath their sinks. And when I say anything, I mean it. They got their hands on a vacuum cleaner and proceeded to turn it into a makeshift electric drill. What's that noise? Hey, what are you doing down there? Vacuuming. Under the sink. On your hands and knees. Halfway into the wall. Yes. Okay, works for me. They actually covered up the noise by having Frank Morris play the accordion, and they covered up the holes in the wall with painted cardboard. Once the holes were big enough to crawl through, they created a raft out of prison raincoats that was held together by liquid plastic, as well as dummy heads that were made out of soap, toothpaste, concrete dust, and toilet paper. On the night of June 11, 1962, the plan went into action. They placed their fake heads on the pillows of the beds and stuffed clothes under the blankets, which would buy them some time from the night guards. The men climbed through the ventilation shaft and out onto the roof, climbed down the kitchen vent pipe, and finally over 2 barbed wire fences to a blind spot on the northeast shore where they escaped. They did it. Round of applause for Frank Lee Morris, the Anglin brothers, and wait, where's Alan? Those bastards left me behind! So, during their preparations, the boys used some cement to reinforce the damaged and crumbling concrete they had chipped through. Except, Allen West had used a bit too much cement, and it held the cardboard in place. But once that was removed, the extra cement narrowed the passage, and West had to spend extra time widening it. By the time he had made it to the roof, the rest of the lads had already left. Here's a stupid question. How many prisoners does it take to smear peanut butter on an exit sign? Apparently 12, because 12 prisoners smeared peanut butter over an exit sign in an absolutely inspired move to escape from jail. The plan was to trick a guard into thinking that it wasn't an exit door and having him open it for them. Of course, that didn't work because we don't live in Crazyland, except for the fact that we do live in Crazyland and this actually worked. I mean, it only worked for 12 hours before the prisoners were caught, but you still gotta feel sorry for the guy who opened the door. He shall forever be known as the man who is thwarted by a jar of Gif. Sorry if I butcher the names of these next 3 escape artists, but in my defense, they are French. Michel Valjean escaped by painting nectarines to look like grenades. Using these Donkey Kong 64 weapons, he made his way to the prison roof, where his wife was waiting to pick him up in a helicopter. The French gangster Redouane Fade. Shut up, lady. Yeah, so Francebald here used actual non-fruit explosives to blast through 5 prison doors to escape. In a second breakout, 3 masked men hijacked a helicopter and flew it into the prison courtyard in order to break Faid out. Pascal Paillet escaped by helicopter twice and helped other prisoners escape by helicopter. I'm starting to notice that prisons have a bit of a helicopter problem. In fact, Wikipedia has an entire page dedicated to helicopter prison escapes, with a total of 46 entries, 34 of which were successful, and 15 of which took place in France. In 1978, Barbara Ann Oswald tried to break out Garrett Brock Trapnell, a con man arrested for serial bank robbing in Canada, impersonating an agent of the CIA, orchestrating a $100,000 jewelry store heist, and polygamy. But the charge he was arrested on this time was hijacking a commercial airline where he demanded $306,800 to pay for his court case. Barbara planned on busting Trapnell out by, surprise, surprise, hijacking a helicopter. Unfortunately for Barbara, the helicopter pilot wasn't French and managed to wrestle the gun away and shoot her. A few months later, Oswald's 17-year-old daughter Robin tried to break Trapnell out, because all the ladies love Trapnell. No, seriously, Trapnell maintained marriages with 6 women simultaneously. So, fellas, if you ever want to impress the lady types, just rob a bank or hijack a plane. It's all upsides. When Robin attempted the breakout, she understood her mother's mistake. So instead of hijacking a helicopter, Robin hijacked a commercial airliner of 87 people by strapping dynamite to her body. It was so much easier to do this pre-9/11. She failed, but the passengers aboard the plane described her as beautiful, serious, and in control. Why are you praising your hostage taker? A local flight should not be enough time for Stockholm Syndrome to kick in. Also, of course she was in control. She had goddamn dynamite strapped to her stomach.